What's up, guys? Today we're going to go over the Phytogenic Insolator. So what the Phytogenic Insolator does pretty much is it farms either trees or other sorts of crops. So you can see here that I'm farming normal oak saplings. It's making me oak wood, and sometimes I get a sapling output, which is then getting fed right back into the input, or that can be used to make more wood. It requires a power source of some sort. It requires some fertilizer. I think PhytoGrow is pretty much all you need. I'm using a special kind of it right now. Most of the recipes take water, and then you just need to do some logistics in order to get your outputs to do what you want them to do. So with that, let's jump right in. All right, so to start out, I'm going to assume that you have some sort of power grid that you can use to power your machine. If you don't have a power grid, real quick, you can use a steam dynamo if you just have thermal expansion mod installed. If you're in my version of the mod, which is for Minecraft 1.12, which will require water, which you can get using an aqueous accumulator and just putting some water around it. It doesn't require power. And then putting some combustible fuel. In the newer versions of the mod, I believe it's replaced with a Stirling dynamo, I believe. And it won't require water, and it will work the same way otherwise. If you're using a mod pack, I recommend just using whatever power generation is the easiest. I like using Tech Reborn solar panels because I think they're relatively cheap to make, and they make a huge amount of energy. So however you get power, we need to be able to power the Phytogenic Insolator in order for it to work at all. So the next thing I typically do is I like to configure the faces to different inputs and outputs. So for my version of the mod, which is an older version, the inputs and outputs can be configured to be different faces separately. So for example, the two outputs can be separated. So in this case, the secondary one, the yellow one's on the bottom, and then the red ones can be from any of these three red ones. In the newer versions of the mod, I believe the inputs and the outputs are just kind of thrown into the same box. So you basically have a face as either an input and an output, and that's it. There's no like separating them out like this. So I'll warn you, if you have the newer versions of the mod, you're probably going to have to do some filtering, which I can show here in a second. But in my case, I can separate all of my faces out, all of my inputs and outputs out. So what I like to do is I'm going to make the back of it blue, because in this case, it doesn't show that this is blue, but the water will get input from a blue face. So I have an aqueous accumulator back here that's giving me water. So if I put it into a blue one in the back, it will add water into the machine. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate my green and my fertilizer and my non-fertilizer slots using the green and the purple faces respectively. So in this case, what it says is that I can either use the blue face or a purple face, but because the only blue one is connected to water, it's effectively just the purple one. And then that is for the seeds, and then the fertilizer can use the green one, which is on top. So if you don't want to do this, I like separating it like this so I don't have to filter externally. If you want to filter externally, you can also do that. If you have item ducts, which for some reason I couldn't find in the newer versions of the mod, I think they're just like not ported over yet. So if you can't find item ducts, you might have to get creative with which mods pipes you're using, such as like Ender IO. I would recommend there. But if you have item ducts, what you can do is you can use servos. So servo has this recipe where it's glass, iron nuggets, iron ingots, and a redstone. I believe this is true as well for the newer versions, but I'm not 100% sure on that. If you right click it, you can make it ignore redstone. If you just want it to be on all the time, otherwise you can control it with redstone like this. And then you can add a filter to the servo. So for example, I can add the, so I'm not sure if whitelist or blacklist is the one I want. I think I want whitelist. Anyways, you can add the oak sapling to the filter or whatever seeds you're using. So like if I was trying to grow trees, which it won't work because we need a special augment, which I'll talk about in a second. But if I'm growing this, I want to be able to pull them out of this slot, which this pipe could do. This is of course if you don't have these separate faces. So like if it was all red, like if I just had, I think it's orange in my case. Like if they're both orange like this, and I want to separate this one to this one, we can use filters using the servo. So in my case, I don't need to do that because we already separated them out. But Let me fix them real fast. But in the newer version of the mod, that you might have to do that, so be aware of that. Okay. So usually what happens is with most recipes, you have seeds going into this slot, and you also have seeds coming out of the secondary output slot. So typically what you want to do is you want to just feed these seeds back into it if you just want it to farm forever. So in our case, that would be the yellow slot to the purple slot. So my purple slot's here, and my yellow slot is on the bottom. So if I just make an item duck go in a circle, that does that for us automatically. If you don't have auto output on, it's not going to push the items, but you can use a servo to have it extract the items out as well by putting on ignored status. But you can also just turn on auto output and it will work as well. Auto input will also pull things in from the 2 input slots, which is also very useful. So in my case, what I can do is on the fertilizer slot, because usually you want fertilizer for it to do stuff. I'm just going to put a chest on top. This could easily be like some sort of ME, like applied energistics, like storage network, or it could be some other more complicated storage network that you have. I'm just going to use a chest with Flux Phyto Grow. With the auto input, it's going to pull it into the fertilizer slot. I put saplings in here myself. And then the red output, which I believe is on this side. Yeah, so I'm going to need to move my power pipes, I think, to the front. Oops. Just so that I can have access to all my faces here. This will go into a chest of some sort, which I'll just put on the ground in the front here, just because I'm lazy. You want to watch out. You don't want to do what I just did. You don't want to do this because they're all going to connect to each other, and that would not be good. So you want to make sure that they don't connect to things that they shouldn't connect to, because it's easy to not realize. Okay, so in this case, we should be able to get our wood or whatever we're growing from the thing to go into a chest. The seeds will go around, and the fertilizer will come in from wherever we're getting fertilizer from. So of course, this isn't working yet, as you can see. There's a couple more things we need to do first. So the first thing we need to do is, at least for trees, we need to add an augmentation to it. So the augment is going to be the sapling infuser. I'm assuming the recipe is going to be very different for different types of mods, mod packs, and different versions of the mod. But in my case, it's a piston, a redstone servo, which is made using this recipe. I have to go back every time I go back. It's an Invar gear, which uses 4 Invar ingots in a gear fashion, and then it's 2 lumium plates, which are used, which are made with lumium ingots and a compactor of some sort, or whatever it's called, and whatever it is. So we need one of those. So I will get a sapling infuser, and we can put that in. This is only needed if you're growing trees. If I were to just grab seeds directly of some kind and put it in here, I believe it'll just work automatically. It'll go very slow, but it will work. So if you're growing farms, like crops or something, or you're farming something that doesn't require the sapling infuser, you don't need it. If you have the just enough items integration, it'll tell you if you need it. Otherwise, if it's not working, you can try it and see if it works. So in this case, we can see that it makes wheat and it makes seeds, and my auto input and output don't appear to be working, which is weird. We might need to grab some servos and extract it anyways, because I know sometimes it can be finicky, which is bizarre sometimes. But we can see that it's making us stuff. So in the case of the sapling infuser, oh, there we go. Okay, that was weird. I don't know why it waited. Yeah, weird. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why I waited to like make it go out and then back in, or extract it to the chest. Anyways, so if we want to grow trees, we go to the augmentation slot and we can put it into the slot. Another very useful thing, and this goes for both farming and not farming. And yeah, if I put this in here, you can see the little sun light up and it will start working with trees, saplings as well. So if you look at some of these recipes, you can tell that most of the secondary outputs have a chance higher than 100%. This means that you're going to get, on average, more than one seed out. So what this means is that it'll fill up with seeds over time, and it could end up clogging up your machine. So if you want to get the seeds, I would recommend I don't know, either manually coming over and grabbing the seeds every once in a while, or you can have a chest act as kind of like a buffer where you connect this to a chest, and then you can make the chest output the items back into this slot. And it shouldn't clog it up with more stuff, and it will give the output somewhere to go. So like if I were to do that, it'd probably look something like this, where I'm not sure where the output would end up going. Like if it would go here or if it would go here. If this input is full, it will go to the chest. So I don't think it matters where it goes. So it'll fill this up, and then you'll probably need a servo here for it to extract back from the chest and go back into the input in case they all end up in the chest. The servo, again, you don't need to do any filters, and I would usually just put it on redstone ignored so that it's just on all the time. Or you can control it with some like lever or something if you have it on one of these two settings. So that's what that would look like. I usually don't care. The other option is what I usually do is I use a nullification chamber as a augmentation, and what it does is it will just delete your excess secondary outputs. That is made with this recipe, where it's Invar nuggets and a lava bucket. It might be different in different versions of the mod though. With the nullification chamber in here, we don't have to worry about that. What will happen is when this fills all the way up, it will just delete any extra ones. It won't delete them before they go back into the input. So there's no issue with like it running out, but it'll make it where it doesn't clog up your machine. And that serves the same purpose as having an overflow chest. The overflow chest is just if you want to grab the items yourself for later use. So this is pretty much all you need to have for the Photogenic Insulator. I'm sorry for the newer versions of the mod. You'll have to do external filtering with these in order to get the pipes to work. And you'll have to get creative with which pipes you use, I think, if the item blocks don't exist. I recommend Ender IO conduits. Those are very useful. Something I will mention though is if you have, I forget what they're called. Here, bear with me while I try to find where they are. These things, upgrade kits. If you make upgrade kits, specifically the thermal foundation ones, you can upgrade your machine to go faster. So you would want a hardened one, which is made with Invar, ingots, redstone, and a bronze gear. And this is probably very different, again, in different versions of the mod or the mod pack. A reinforced upgrade kit, a signalium one, and a resonant one. If you use them on the machine, which you do just by right-clicking on it, in order, so it has to go hardened and then the reinforced and then signalium and then resonant. What it does is it gives you way more speed on your machine, just in general. So just doing the upgrades themselves gives you more speed, but they also give you more augmentation slots. So instead of 3, we have, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And what that lets you do is get an auxiliary, I don't know how to spell, augment, and I'm going to find it because I don't know how to spell that. An auxiliary reception coil. And what this does is it just makes it go faster. So if you're worried about speed, you can just put a whole bunch of augmentations in here with an upgraded thing, and it will make it go significantly faster. So that's just something you can do with the insulator to make it go faster. This also goes for every thermal foundation machine, is you can upgrade all of them, and you can, I think with most of them, you can put this augment in there to make them go faster. So this is usually what I like doing with the farms. We can see that the saplings are going in a circle, going back into the input. When the input fills all the way up with saplings, this will over time fill up. And then when this is full and this is full, it'll start deleting them, and it won't delete your wood. And the wood, theoretically, it will get pulled into a secondary chest that we can then just have running forever. So as long as you have some sort of fertilizer input and some sort of power, you can have an infinite farm that will just run forever. All right, guys, that'll be it for this relatively short video. I hope that you were able to get a farm working and that you don't run into any issues. If you do, feel free to leave a comment and I can try to help you debug. Mods can be especially convoluted, especially because there's different mod packs, different patches, different versions that are all extremely variable in how you do things. I hope you have a wonderful day and I hope to see you next time.